know we talked about it, and it was depending on who was going to be Samson, but just wanted to check. I'm just doing it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just thought I'd check. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 So I'm just bringing him on once. Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. That's good. Just a thought. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm. Amen. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking no because I'll just stand at the microphone. I'm not thinking that I'll move around. I just stand there. Yeah. Yeah. Good morning. I feel like I'm standing at the front there waiting for something important to happen. But then, well, exactly, exactly. I wait for Andrew to give me the nod, and then we'll get going. I never know whether the clock is right either. Whereas, you know how clocks in schools is, I'm never quite sure. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a few more people coming yet. Oh, does it? Are you late? Are you usually late for things? So that's meant to be a good trick, isn't it? If you leave things to the last minute, if you set your watch fast, then actually you turn out to be on time. Or you get, yeah, yeah, okay. Good morning, everybody. I think we will make a start for our service this morning. Welcome to those of you that are in person. Welcome as well to those of you that are watching live on YouTube. So we are gathering together this morning to worship God together. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sian. I'm a member of the family here at Christ Church Trumpington. It is good to see you. You've joined us this morning for a Heroes Sunday. We're going to be staying all together this morning looking at Samson, because he is mentioned in Hebrews as being a hero of the faith. There is creche available for those of you that are of preschool age. If you make your way through the doors, if you're not sure where to go, Nadine out there, I'm sure, will point you in the right direction, should you need it. So, as I've already said, we are looking this morning at Samson. Now, you may know absolutely nothing about Samson and his story. You may know lots about Samson and his story. But if you know one thing, I'm going to bet that you know Samson was very strong, that he had a lot of strength. And when I was planning the service, myself and Andrew were thinking, right, what can we do to start off our service this morning about Samson? And we thought, wouldn't it be a good opportunity to get some strength training in for everybody at CCT this morning? I can see your faces are so enthusiastic about this. So we thought we'd have a go at building our strength this morning. So I'm going to invite you to stand up, and if you're able to, we're going to have some music playing to get us in the mood, to get us thinking about strength. And I'm going to ask you to start off just gently with a little jog. If you're not able to jog, use your arms. That's good work, everybody. And then we're going to sprint. Okay, we're going to do a sprint. Are you ready? 5 seconds of fast running. Ready, set, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, okay, and now strength is all about building muscles, isn't it? So I need you to get your weights out this morning. I know you've bought them, so grab them from your bag. Mine are just here at the front. Grab your weights, and we're going to do some bicep curls. Come on, Nicholas, I can see you looking so enthusiastic there. Curl those biceps. And then we're going to hold up our weights high above our heads for as long as we can. Are you ready? And go. Who can hold them up there the longest? You can feel the burn in your muscles. Feel those muscles and all the blood pumping through them this morning. And I think we need to give ourselves a countdown. Can you count with me down from 5? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh! Give yourselves a round of applause, everybody. Well done. Well done. So I hope that's got you in the mood for strength training this morning and Samson. We're going to stay standing now because we're going to go straight into our first song, singing about a God who is indescribable.
You are
So, Father God, we lift to you our service this morning, that as we gather together in the name of the God who is indescribable, we just ask you to come this morning as we worship you, as we praise you, as we glorify you. Amen. Please be seated. So, as I've already said, you've joined us this morning for our all-age service, our Hero Sunday, and we're going to be looking this morning at the hero of Samson. Now, last time, you may remember, we looked at Gideon, and we saw how Gideon's weakness was turned to strength. That Gideon had quite a few weaknesses, but God used those weaknesses, and he turned them to strength. And I wonder if you will see something similar happen with our hero of Samson this morning. Our hero Samson, you can read about him in the book of Judges in the Bible. And at the time of Judges and Samson, God's people were being ruled over by their enemies, the Philistines. Boo! And it was not such a happy time for God's people. But Samson's parents, who couldn't have children, received a message from God in the form of an angel. And this angel told them that they were going to have a son. I can see similarities appearing between Jesus. But Samson's parents were going to have a son. And this son was going to take the lead in delivering Israel from their enemies, the Philistines. No mean feat. He was going to take the lead, not just play a part in, but take the lead in delivering Israel from their Philistines. Samson was also to be dedicated to God, and he was never to have his hair cut. So Samson grew up, and as I've already said, he grew up really strong. So we've got this character who's really strong. He's dedicated to God. He's going to lead the Israelites out of the hands of their enemies from the Philistines. And he's never to have his hair cut. I'm sure you can imagine what he looks like. Well, in fact, we don't need to imagine what he looks like because Samson is with us today. Can I ask you to put your hands together, please, for Samson? Here he comes now. Watch out for the muscles. So look, we can see he's got strong muscles. Can you give us a flex? He looks strong, doesn't he? He does look strong. How much can you lift, Samson? Can you lift a bus? Yeah, I think you could. 2 buses! 2 buses. Well, Samson certainly looks really strong, doesn't he, everybody? Thank you very much for showing us your muscles, Samson, and showing us your strength. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. So, Samson this morning, really strong hero of the faith, but he was also weak. He had strengths, but he also had weaknesses. And we're going to look this morning at perhaps what some of those strengths are and what some of those weaknesses are as well. And to kind of help us do that, we thought maybe we'd have a go at creating a top heroes card for Samson. For those of you that have played top trumps before, this is a similar thing. If Samson was a top hero card or a top trumps card, this is what it might look like. And we're going to have a look today and see if we can fill in some of these things that might appear on Samson's card. So we've got listening to parents, we've got physical strength, and we've got setting riddles. Those are the first 3 that we are going to be looking at this morning. But we need to know a little bit of the story first, don't we? So let's hear a little bit of the story so far about Samson.
Okay. Samson was a gift from God. He's mine. He'll lead the battle against the Philistines. His strength came from the Lord as promised. Our God who speaks is always honest. When the time came to find a wife, he looked more than he thought. A Philistine girl is the one for me. He ignored all his parents had taught. On his way did Samson go and came upon a lion. He killed it with his own bare hands. The Spirit of God was on him. Back later he found bees and honey. He shared it with his dad and mummy. A wedding party they set up, Samson in the middle. Sets of clothes he did need. He set his friends a riddle. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. They did not know. They asked his wife. She cried and caused some strife. Honey and a lion, he said. And so they won the quiz. Angry then, he killed some men. His wife no longer his.
Okay, so some of the things that happened in Samson's life so far. If we were going to need then to fill out this top heroes card for Samson, I wonder what scores we'd give him. So we're going to look first of all at listening to parents. Okay, now we heard from that poem that Helen just read that his parents tried to say, when he was choosing a wife, tried to suggest that maybe choosing a Philistine wife was perhaps not the best choice. But Samson went ahead and did it anyway, didn't he? So what kind of score do you think he should have for listening to his parents? Now, to help get a snapshot of what everybody thinks in the congregation today, some of you may see a pile of paper with some numbers on it near you. If you are sitting near a pile of numbers, now there are also some piles of paper without numbers on. These numbers are bigger. If you are sitting near one of those number sets, if you could perhaps decide which number you'd give Samson, I'm going to ask you to hold it up, and then we can just have a look around to see what people are thinking, whether we're going lows, ones and twos, or whether we're going a little bit higher, maybe 8s or 9s. We're scoring this out of 10, by the way. I don't think I said that, did I? So if you've got a number set, could you decide and hold it up for me? That would be really helpful. Okay, so we're starting off with 1s. We've got 1s this side. We've got a 2. We've got another 2. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Oh, we've got another 3. Okay, so we're going low, aren't we? A 4. Okay. Right, I'm going to go in the middle and I'm going to say a 2. So he's not very good, is he, at listening to his parents? Samson's weakness. 2. What about physical strength? What about physical strength? Now we saw, didn't we, when Samson came up the front, we saw his muscles. He is strong. We know his strength has been given to him by God. So what number? Perhaps if you could pass the numbers on to somebody else so that they can join in with our top trump decision making. Oh, we've got 10s this time. 10, 10, 10. A 9, another 10. Another 10, another 9. Right, we're going high, aren't we? Another 9. I think there were just a few more 10s that time. So let's go. Full marks on physical strength. 10 out of 10 for physical strength. What about, though, setting riddles? We heard in the story, didn't we, that Samson set a riddle. Perhaps we could have it out on the board so I don't need to read it out. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. Now we know that this perplexed those at the party. Those at the party didn't know what he was on about. They couldn't solve the riddle. They needed to ask his wife and said, hey, do you know what he's talking about? And even his wife had no idea. She had to go and ask him too. And it was only when Samson said what the answer was that they understood. So how do you think Samson is at setting riddles? What kind of number are we going for there? we've got a 9, we've got a 10, we've got an 8, we've got a 2, an 8 and a 7, a 10, 8, an 8, an 8. Any more for any more? Okay, let's go in the middle then. Let's say 8. Not quite as good as physical strength, but still pretty high. Would you want that top trumps card if you were playing top trumps? Maybe. We can already see, can't we, that Samson has some strengths, but he also has some weaknesses. And we're going to carry on filling in the top trumps card as we go through this morning's service. But we're going to stand and sing now a little bit more about God, about the God that we trust, and the God that we know we can put our trust in him. So if you could stand, let's sing our next song.
Well, do have a seat, and we're going to carry on and hear a bit more of the story of Samson. What happens next? Thanks.
Okay. Samson's wife was given to another. Angry, he made the Philistines suffer. 300 foxes he tied fire to their tails and set them running in the fields. Crops destroyed, the people got mad. Let's kill Samson because he's really bad. Tied with ropes, they thought they got him caught, but with the Spirit of God in him, Samson fought. With a donkey's jawbone, I've made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone, I've killed 1,000 men. Samson was so strong and big that he could not be tamed. Later he met a girl he loved. Delilah was her name. The people Samson they did fear. His secret they sought to know. They bribed Delilah with some cash, so Samson they could slow. 3 times she asked, "How are you strong?" 3 times he answered the reason wrong. She begged and whined and wailed and moaned, till Samson sighed, gave up and groaned. "My hair is a secret to my physique. Without it, I become so weak." She called the Philistines while he slept, and in they came, they quietly crept. Cut his hair and his strength will fail. He'll be yours, you can take him straight to jail. And so they did, and Samson woke. They tied him, and out his eyes did poke. Weak and without the strength of God, Samson ground corn, around he did plod. Was this the end of Samson's story? Will God not use him for his glory?
Well, we'll find out. But we met Samson once before. He was looking pretty strong and impressive, wasn't he? I wonder if Samson will come back and join us again at the front now. How's he looking now? In fact, I might have to come and help him. Here, grab my arm. Okay, stop there, Samson. Things looking a bit different for Samson now. He's lost his hair, that's all gone. He's not looking very strong or mighty, he can't see. He looks like a different man, doesn't it? It's not looking good. Samson, let me take you back. You've got to get back to prison and grind some of that corn. There you go, thank you. Wow, what a change. He was looking so strong. Now he looks so weak. Well, it's top heroes time. Three more categories to score Samson on. So, controlling his anger. He set his friends that riddle, and they cheated, didn't they? And they asked his wife, and she asked him, and she told them, and well, he ended up getting really, really angry and going and killing 30 men and getting really cross. So I wonder if you've got those scoring sheets. What does Samson get for controlling his anger? What have the judges of CCT got for Samson on controlling his anger? Is he really good at controlling his anger? Is he a 10? Or is he terrible at controlling his anger? A 1? What do we think? Hold them up high. The scores are in. We've got a 1, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 1. What's that at the back, Mark? I can't see. That's a 2 at the back. 1s, 2s. I think just 1s have it. A 1 for controlling anger. Not so good, Samson. Right. What about using weapons? He's a strong man, but we heard, didn't we, that he went and he thought and beat 1,000 men with an old donkey's jawbone that he found lying around. He didn't have any weapons with him, but he found an old jawbone and used that as a weapon and killed 1,000 men, 1 to 1,000. How do we rate him then for using weapons, even odd weapons? How does Samson get on? Is he a 1, not very good? Is he a 10, very good? Is he somewhere in between? Are the scores in? The scores are in. Okay, we've got a 10, a 9, a 10, a 10, a 9. There must be one more. What's that, Daphne? 10 over there. Mark's got a 9. Yeah, pretty impressive. We've only got the one example, though, haven't we? So we'll give it 9. He's pretty good at using weapons. 1 man with 1 donkey jawbone, 1,000 men defeated. Brilliant. Right, last one for now. Keeping secrets. How good is Samson at keeping secrets? He's now with Delilah, and she says to him, "What's the secret of your strength?" And 3 times he told her, he kept his secret 3 times and told her something that was wrong. And then she kept on asking him. In fact, she said, "Don't you love me? If you love me, you tell me." And eventually he said, "I've never had a razor used on my head. I've never had my hair cut. If you cut my hair, that's the secret to my strength." So how good is Samson at keeping secrets, do we think? What have we got? Are the scores in? They're coming in now. Wait for it, folks. I've got a 2 and a 4 and a 3 and a 3. Yeah. Another 3. What? 4. Yeah. So he seemed okay at keeping secrets at the beginning, and then when it came to the crunch, he gave in, didn't he? And wasn't so good. So we'll call that a 3, I think, at keeping secrets. Not one of his greatest strengths. In fact, right at the beginning of the story, he didn't keep the secret of his riddle either, did he? So not so good. Well, let's just think about that for a few moments before we move on with the story. So, God told a couple who couldn't have any children, I'm going to give you a son. And he's going to be special. He's going to be a miracle baby. And he's going to be dedicated to God, dedicated to me, said God, set apart for me, and his hair is never to be cut. And they were told that God was going to use him to save God's people, the Israelites, from their enemies, the Philistines. And that baby was Samson. And Samson grew up to be big and strong, and he sounds and he looks at the beginning like a real superhero, didn't he? And twice in Judges we read, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him powerfully. And Samson does some pretty impressive stuff. He meets a lion. What do you do when you meet a lion? You run away as fast as you can. That might not be the best thing to do. But that would be what I wanted to do. But Samson, no, with his bare hands, he kills the lion. And it doesn't seem to matter how many people he's fighting against or whether he's got proper weapons or not. 1,000 men and the donkey's jawbone, no problem to Samson. I suspect Samson had a bit of a fan club. If Samson was living today, he'd have a queue of people wanting to have selfies with him, wouldn't he? He was a bit of a hero. But, and there's a big but with Samson, isn't there? He scored really well on our top heroes card with physical strength and setting riddles and using weapons, but he scored really badly in other areas. He's strong, but he's also weak. Samson keeps on messing up. He knew God didn't want his people to marry people from their enemies, but he did. He wouldn't listen to his parents. He lost his temper and did some crazy stuff. And he kept on getting into trouble with girls. And in the end, he told Delilah the secret to his strength. 3 times he told her the wrong thing, and then at the end, he told her. And every time he told her the wrong thing, she then told the Philistines, and they tried to come and capture him, but they couldn't. He burst out of the ropes and all the things that they tried. I wonder what was going through Samson's head on that 4th time where he said, "It's my hair." What was going through his head? Maybe he convinced himself that nothing really bad would happen if his hair was cut off, even though he knew it was disobeying God. Maybe he thought that he'd had all this success, or maybe he thought, actually, I'm pretty strong on my own, thank you very much. I'm not sure that this is God's strength at all, actually, it's all mine. Maybe he thought nothing bad would happen because he was strong in himself. Well, whatever it was, Samson messed up, and his hair was cut, and his strength left him. In fact, we're told in Judges 16, the Lord left him. And he was blinded and tied up and sent to prison, treading the corn like an animal. What a mess Samson got into. And we'll find out what happens next as we hear the end of the story in a few minutes. But when we see Samson messing up, all these negative, all these low scores here, when we see him messing up, it's really easy for us, isn't it, to say, well, to point the finger and to say, what is Samson doing? Look at him. Isn't he rubbish? But I think if we think about it, and we don't have to think about it too long, we're a bit like Samson, aren't we? There are good things that we do for God and for others. And whilst I'm trusting you might not get angry and then go out and kill 30 people, well, maybe we don't always listen to what our parents tell us or do what we're told. And maybe we do things that we regret when we get angry. And maybe we do and say and think things sometimes that we know are wrong and we know won't please God. Is that sometimes you? It's sometimes me. We mess up, don't we? Just like Samson. God's people, Christians, us today, we mess up. And that means we need to say sorry to God. That means we need to ask God for forgiveness. And Sian's going to come and help us think about how we might do that now. Sian, thank you.
So for our prayer time today, we're going to think about those times that we have messed up, that we have not done perhaps what we think we should have done, or we've not done something that we think we should have done. Those times that we need to come before God and we need to say sorry. So to help us do that, you will see that there are some plain pieces of paper around the room. There are also some pens as well. And what I would really like us to do for our prayer time today is to do some active prayer. This is a prayer space type activity that we're going to think now about those things that we want to say sorry to, we want to say sorry for. And what I'd like you to do is to write those things or draw a picture of those things or in some way put them on that paper. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to say sorry by doing this. And we're going to say sorry by throwing this rubbish away. We're going to make a mess. Because we mess up, don't we? And we need to acknowledge that, and we need to come before God and say sorry. So I'm just going to give a couple of minutes. We're going to have some music playing while we do that, to just take some time to think about what would you like to say sorry for? What would you like to bring before God? And write it down, screw it up, hold it in your hand, and then we'll throw them all together when we've done that. So once you have written on your piece of paper, screw it up, because once we've confess these things to God, once we've come to him and said, we've messed up, we're sorry, he can take those things and forgive us, and then they're gone. So in a second, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then I'd like you to throw your piece of paper towards the front. We're going to make a mess towards the front. And you might see on the screen that there's a cross. As you do that, you may want to say in your head, sorry to God for those things. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, throw. So, Father God, we bring all of these sorry prayers to you now. We bring them to you in the knowledge that when we say sorry, we are forgiven because of what Jesus did on that cross. We know that when we say sorry, you forgive us. So we acknowledge now and we say sorry for those times that we've messed up. And we ask you to help us as we go forward not to mess up again in quite the same way. Amen. Okay, we're going to stand now and sing again about some other people that appear in the Bible that may or may not mess up as well.
Know about the most enormous birds that kept the birds and animals afloat. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Noah lived his life for him. Moses led his people through the sea, taking them away from slavery. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Moses lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, that all through history you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you, that you are just the same when it comes to me, when it comes to me. David fought Goliath and he won. A humble shepherd boy became a king. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and David lived his life for him. Daniel was inside a lion's den, but God brought him to safety once again. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Daniel lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, that all through history you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you, that you are just the same when it comes to me, when it comes to me. Jesus died to take away our sin, so we could get to know our God again. The Lord is good, the Lord is strong, and we will live our lives for him. Oh, thank you, that all through history you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you, that you are just the same when it comes to me, when it comes to me.
Well, do have a seat. We want to know how the story ends, don't we? So Helen's going to come up and we'll see.
Samson's hair began to grow. The Philistines said, "Bring him out, put him on show." They celebrated and parted and they danced. But Samson asked God for one more chance. "Lord, give me strength, and with these I will die." He pushed on the pillars which stood so high. They fell on the Philistines, and with that they were gone. Samson was weak, but God made him strong. So what can we learn from this curious tale? Whenever we mess up or sin or fail, remember that God still cares and still uses those he loves and those he chooses.
Well, I'm going to ask Samson to join me up the front one last time. How's he looking now? He was in a pretty sorry state last time. Oh, his hair's started to grow back. He's walking a bit faster than last time, I think. Yeah, he's definitely walking faster. Come on, my man. And what do we see Samson doing? We see Samson praying. He turns to the Lord and he prays and he asks God to help him, to use him to defeat the Philistines. Samson, thank you. You can come up. Good job. Thank you, Samson, our hero of the faith. Well, we've got one more box to fill in on our card before our card is complete. And it says, turning back to God. How did Samson score at the end of the day? How did he score at turning back to God? Was he not very good at turning back to God, or was he a 1, or was he really good at turning back to God? Was he an 8, 9, or a 10? Other scores, if you've got those scoring cards, or pass them on. Are the scores in? The scores are in. We've got a 10, a 10, a 10. 10, 10, 10, a full house. Isn't that where you do a jig? Yeah, 10s. A full house. Brilliant. Sorry. Oh, done. Samson gets a 10 because at the end he turned back to God. It looked like everything was lost. Samson had messed up one time too many, we might think. And the Philistines, while they were busy celebrating and throwing a party, and they were thanking their God, who wasn't a God, who was a false God, and saying, yeah, we beat Samson. Isn't this amazing? And in fact, bring Samson in so we can point at him and have a laugh at him and make fun of him, because look at the state of him now. But Samson's hair had started to grow back. And more importantly, Samson turns back to God and he prays. And he asks God to remember him, and he asks God to help him, and he asks God to make him strong just one last time so he can defeat the Philistines. And he prays, and he puts his faith in God, and he reaches up and he pushes it hard at the 2 biggest pillars in the middle of the temple. And down the whole thing came on Samson and on all the rulers of the Philistines and all the people. Down it came. And we read in Judges 16, Samson killed more when he died than when he lived. God used Samson, even though Samson messed up. Just as God promised he would use him even before he was born. Isn't that good news for us? That God used him even though he messed up? Because that means if God still uses Samson when he messes up, God can still use us and me and you when we mess up. And so if you think God couldn't possibly use me because I've messed up too many times, then the good news of Samson this morning is think again. God can use you just like he used Samson. Do what Samson did and pray and say sorry to God and ask him to help you to be strong. Not necessarily physically strong, but it might mean being strong in other ways. Perhaps being strong to go and tell other people about Jesus. Perhaps being strong when you feel really weak as a Christian at school and no one else in your class is. Maybe it's being strong to help you to stop doing something that you know you shouldn't do. or to be strong to do something that you know you really ought to do. How did our rhyming story end? So what can we learn from this curious tale? Whenever we mess up or sin or fail, remember that God still cares and uses those he loves and those he chooses. And if you're trusting in Jesus this morning, then that's you. You are the ones that he loves and chooses. And God still loves you even when you mess up and still wants to use you for his work. The question is, will you let him? Will you let him? Well, Samson is, you might be surprised, you might not be surprised. He's the 8th hero of the faith that we've looked at here at CCT. We've looked at Noah and Abraham and Sarah and Moses and the people of God and Rahab and Gideon and now Samson. And none of our heroes of the faith have been perfect, have they? But in that way, they point us to the hero who is perfect. They point us to Jesus. And at the end of Hebrews 11, in this great big long list of heroes, at the beginning of chapter 12, we read, and Steve talked about it last week, we read, how is it that we keep on trusting God, keep on having faith? We read that we should fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Unlike all of the other heroes, unlike Samson, Jesus lived the perfect life. Jesus scores 10 out of 10 in every single box. Jesus is the top hero. He is the trump card in the pack. Because Jesus never messed up. And it's because Jesus never messed up that we can know for sure that we can turn back to God and say sorry when we mess up and make a mess with our mess and say sorry and know that at the cross. Because Jesus never messed up and died in our place, that he forgives us the messes we make. And it's because of that that we know that God will use us, because Jesus promises to help us to live for him and to serve him and to be about his work and his glory. And so we want to be people of faith. We want to look to our heroes of the faith like Samson and learn to them, but we want to fix our eyes on Jesus and trust in him. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Well, let's pray and ask God to help us to do that now as we come towards the end of our service. Dear God, we thank you for this, the remarkable way in which you promise this baby, this miracle baby Samson, and that you're going to use him and work through him to save your people, even though your people were a rebellious people. You loved them and worked through Samson. And you worked through Samson even though he messed up. You know that we mess up too. And we thank you that in Jesus, the top hero, that we can be forgiven for when we mess up, for when we sin, for when we let you down. And we know that you can still use us just like you still used Samson. Help us to keep on fixing our eyes on Jesus. Help us to keep on living by faith. Help us to be those who want to be used by you for your purposes and your glory in our lives. For we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, we're going to stand and sing our final song, "The Lord is my salvation." Let's stand and sing together.
No spring will come, the Lord is my salvation. In times of waiting, times of need, when I know loss, when I am weak, I know His grace will renew these days. The Lord is my salvation. Who is like the Lord our God, strong to save, faithful in love? My debt is paid and the victory won. The Lord is my salvation. And when I reach my final day, He will not leave me in the grave, but I will rise, He will call me home. The Lord is my salvation. Who is like the Lord our God, strong to save, faithful in love? My debt is paid and the victory won. The Lord is my salvation. Glory be to God the Father. Glory be to God the Son. Glory be to God the Spirit. The Lord is our salvation. Glory be to God the Father. Glory be to God the Son. Glory be to God the Spirit. The Lord is our salvation. The Lord is our salvation. The Lord is our salvation.
Do have a seat. Just a quick couple of notices as we finish. Please remember, invitations to Christmas events on the 11th of December, 2 weeks' time, are out there on the left. Could you be taking those, delivering some to your neighbours, handing them on to friends, people at the school gate, someone at work maybe you could invite to come along and join us, either on the afternoon of the 11th for our family nativity fun afternoon, or on the evening for our carols in the chapel. Grab some of these. If that pile out there gets taken away completely today, that's fine, because we've got more. So grab a handful and be delivering those, please. We've also got a few of these left, our Advent readings. We talked about that last week, and there was a great big pile of them last week. That great big pile is now quite a small pile, which is brilliant. Lots of people have taken them, but there are some left. Come and grab one, and if that pile runs out, don't worry, we can get more. Free of charge. We'd love to all be reading these together this December, starting on the 1st, which is, of course, this week, so you'll need to grab it today. Do take one of those. Lastly, one of the things that we love to do as a church at Christmas is we love to make up some Christmas hampers that we give to those people in the community for whom Christmas might be a particularly tough time of year financially, and we love to bless them with a hamper full of Christmas goodies. We're going to be doing that again this year. There'll be some details of that in the weekly update on Tuesday about how you can sign up for mince pies or fruit juice or Christmas cakes or whatever it might be. There's a great big list of things. Look out for that, sign up for that, and we'd love to do that again this year as we have done in previous years. That's enough from me. It's time for a drink and maybe a biscuit. Thank you for sticking with us, for voting so enthusiastically for our Top Heroes card, and for listening so carefully. Thank you, and see you next time.